we hit up the community, all right? We hit up the community. We're talking about grading comics. We wanted to hear your thoughts on grading comics. There's a lot of new members, man. Like a lot of new collectors into the space. Like however much the community thinks we have right now, I guarantee it's more. Disney Plus is real, all right? What the shows are doing for the comic collecting space cannot even be summarized with digits because every day it's like we're getting thousands of new people who are wanting to participate, wanting to be part of the collectible hobby. And they got questions about grading, okay? And we grade. I grade a lot of books. Jeff, you grade a lot of older books. So I thought this would be a great time for us to kind of just have an open discussion with some community direction because we had them participate and, have them give us a little insight on why they grade, why they don't grade, experiences they've had, and then maybe you'll learn something from this. Comic Fam, hit that like button, slap the subscribe button. We're here to chat expensive paper with you. And this is what, yeah, man, I got comics had to say. I grade only my own personal grails, or if it's big enough of a key to sell and make more money to buy more for the PC. Now, yes, grading comics puts a grade on it professionally, and there's a lot of benefits to that. We'll get into it throughout this conversation, but I like this comment because he was very specific. This is a collector who's looking to upgrade his personal collection, and what he's doing is he's grading certain books so that he can make them worth more to then decide what to do with them so that he can allocate the comeuppance, the money made on other books that he can put to his own collection to upgrade his PC. What a great way to collect. Now you don't have to spend your entire paycheck. You can be savvy by grading, by you yourself becoming more knowledgeable in the hobby by learning how to grade so that you can grade and then go through a process that may make you a better investment that you can then allocate towards other books that you want that you may otherwise not be able to afford.
So basically he's buying books and he's letting go of the ones that he wants less and get them graded so that he can sell them and make money to put towards PC books.
Absolutely.
That makes total sense to me.
Right? I mean, I've done that before. I'm sure you literally talked about doing it today, getting certain books, upgrading the books, maybe letting go of some books to acquire others. And that's a real way that members get from the kind of early stages of the collectible and buying, and then getting their feet wet and buying keys and maybe a bit more expensive books and maybe higher grade of books. Like when I started collecting, man, I wasn't interested in buying 9/8. I was like not on the playing field. I'm like, I don't care if the book's barely hanging on. I want the first appearance of Rhino. So I got one, and it was like a good VG, and I was happy with that. I think I paid less than the actual digit number that's on the cover. I mean, it's issue 41. I remember paying like $30 for a first Rhino and being very content with that. It's not all about getting expensive books. However, if you're savvy with your buying and you're willing to move up over time as it pertains to grades and quality, you will find success long-term.
Yeah, I'm going to give just a little tidbit, guys. Make collecting a lifelong hobby. That way you don't stress about immediate. If you take your time and just enjoy and take what comes to you instead of always trying to force things and make things always happen, and that's it, where you overextend and leverage yourself, it's okay to wait and let things fall to you so that you don't feel like you're in this timeline pressure on books. I'm looking at collecting as a lifelong hobby. So for me, it's, time grows knowledge, and then your collection grows and good things happen. Things will come, things will fall your way. If you're out there looking actively, you will have wins through the year. And if you can be patient, then you can make your money work for you and have that feel like it's extending and getting you more for your dollar.
Absolutely, Jeff. Completely agree with you. Very astute. Next comment from the community is from Daily Grounds. He says, I like to buy graded books. Just have to find the right price. It takes away from the guessing game of grading. Very true. Sometimes books are low grade, and traditionally it's kind of harder to grade books below like as you go down that grading tier list, because hey, if the book is mint, you're counting like 1, 2 defects, right? You're looking for like, in the 9.0s, like how many spine ticks do you have? Do you have any like blunted corners, right? Those are easy to spot. But when you're dealing with like a 2.0, a 3.0, a 4.0, a 1.8, you're talking about such a substantial amount of problems that affect the grade that's when things get a little bit dicey. And then when you get on expensive books, you're looking at dropping some money down, that's when things get a little bit of a, as Daily Ground said, a guessing game if you're not a professional. Hey, easy. Get it graded professionally. And then when you're going through the deal, you don't have to worry. The buyer and the seller both knows what you're dealing with.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's discussing it as a buyer, okay? So, I mean, as a buyer, then you also know as a seller, it's probably easier to sell on top of that. So being the buyer, buying graded, I mean, right now we're looking at values of comics so high that if you know what you're doing, you can find value in raw books because generally you can play with a half a point. Maybe the person you're buying from, you're describing it enough to where you point out all these things that you might think are still 4.5, but you might convince them it's a 4.0 or a 3.5. Okay, so then you can maybe buy it and get some value out of that because sometimes people feel grading can be so subjective, or maybe his grading ability isn't as good as yours. Again, that's part of the experience of grading education. But like with dollar values being as high as they are, buying graded books makes sense because then everybody knows what you have, what you're buying, what the value is, because books are generally traded so frequently that we know what the baseline is on a comic. So that's wise if you're doing it that way, buying in, and you're comfortable with that, right? You're like, okay, I know what I'm getting. I'm the type of guy who needs to know what I'm getting when I'm buying a book. Okay, I have to know that this is a 4.5 that I'm buying because it says so on the label. But then also you got to realize, does it look like a 4.5? Am I buying an ugly 4.5 and paying a solid 4.5 price? So that's another little fine line you also got to look into when you're buying these books. Does it present well? And that's a big deal to understand when you're looking at these. Does it present? So remember that, guys, in the future, presentation goes a long way.
I keep waffling about my Journey 85. I've been texting you weeks over weeks. Every time I find a 2.0 comic book, I look at it and go, how is my Journey 85 a 2.0? Because there's problems with the book, of course, but I've seen some 2.0s that are atrocious. I've seen some 3.0s that are atrocious. And this book presents so well. Eye appeal matters. So you have a grading tier, but then you also have to apply eye appeal. That's very important because if someone has a 2.0 that they can buy, but then they're looking at another 2.0 and going, yeah, but the back cover on this one's really hashed and the front cover on this one is really hashed. Well, I'm going to look at the front cover all day. I want the one that has a nicer front cover where I can see the character that I'm buying the keywordiness for, i.e. Loki. But sometimes it's on the inside, So you gotta apply these factors before you throw money down. But also that should be an indicator as well on whether you should grade a book or not. Because let's say you have a really good eye appeal book, but the grade isn't great. Well, hey, you put that in a slab. Someone's gonna feel confident in the book now. And it presents so well, it's gonna be affordable to that person because now they're going, yeah, but this 2.0 looks great. I could spend money on a 2.5, but all the 2.5s that I've been seeing look like crap. Maybe they'll be fine to buy the 2.0, and now you've moved the book. Awesome. All right, next person on this list. We appreciate you commenting, Comic Fam. All right, we have EEM28001. This is so true. I love this comment. Can you read this one?
It's like gambling, always trying for a big score. Trying to top a Crow 1 I bought raw for $150. Now 9.6 CGC.
So I'm not someone who really gambles their money, I like playing poker, but if I play poker, I'm not going into it going, all right, if I lose, I'm going to have the worst week of my life. I'm someone who's like, hey, if I lose all my money, I know going into it that if I lose, I'm paying for the experience. I'm not like obviously you're trying to make money, but you're doing it for a different reason than just like risking it all, Or if I go to a casino and I'm going to play one of the slot machines, I'm kissing that $20 goodbye as soon as I put it in the slot, and I'm not going to feel bad about it. I'm not someone who's risking a bunch of money and kind of just grew up conservatively, right? However, there's a real layer of a gambling feeling when it comes to grading comics. I have absolutely gone, this could come back a 9.6 or a 9.8. But what if? Maybe. And that right there is akin to like a lottery ticket. You know, you're hoping, you're crossing your fingers and your toes that you're going to have that glorious 9.8. Or, man, this 9.8 could be a 9.9. Man, your Tomb 1. How many times have you told me that you're trying to get this damn Tomb 1 regraded because you really feel like it could be a 9.9? The day that happens, Jeff, dude, you are going to be dancing. We're going to get it on camera.
I will be dancing. I'll be dancing to the camera. After the camera's done, to my car, to the box that it's just gonna sit in forever, like it's a vampire in a coffin,
right?
You know. But yeah, that'd be amazing. So no, I totally get it. I mean, look, it shouldn't be a gamble. Like, you think it shouldn't be a gamble to grade, but unfortunately it is, because it's complicated. It is kind of a science. And sometimes you don't feel there's consistency there, so it puts a little bit of that gambling, you know, and it costs money, right? So you are anteing up here.
Absolutely.
Can you ante up front here for this bet? So, but boy, when that bet comes through and you're bringing in those chips, you're like, yeah, I knew it, even though you didn't really know it. But, you know, you act like you did, and you talk about your wins. You don't usually talk about your losses. Actually, I feel like a lot of people talk about their losses in this hobby quite a bit. But,
oh, yeah, dude. We get very outspoken when we think that the grades shouldn't be what they are. But, you know, man, it's one of those things. I have had more, okay, yeah, I'm content feeling, or, oh, really? Oh, damn, than like dancing moments. You know, especially when like we're dealing with 9.8 moderns, you know, and you take the time to take care of them and ship them down. You're like, yeah, this is a 9.8, should be a 9.8. It comes back a 9.8. Win. Awesome. Everything went right. But there are times where you are just surprised. You're going, oh, yes, I am so excited to send the graders, the what is it? The graders note, not the graders notes. What am I thinking here? Like the results, the grading results to my homies. Like, I'll just get a snapshot from Jeff or my dad, or just like a random comic fam member going, yo, they don't even have the book yet. They're just checking that website. Refresh. Finally, 9 months went by. Look at the response for the grades, and they're seeing 9.8s, and they're just super stoked, and they haven't even gotten the books in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. When you open up your file and you get to see your results and they outdo your expectations, I mean, I don't know, it's a weirdly amazing like accomplishment. It feels like a victory, okay, of this grand victory that you beat Goliath, okay? You just
you
won.
Beat Goliath.
You did.
All right, well, here we have JS Wretch 20. JS Wretch 20's response was, all right, in response to like, were there any grading fails? I really like this comment. It's going to get you a giveaway here today. I appreciate you participating. He wouldn't call the negative times fails. He calls them disappointments. Unfortunately, there are too many. And you know what? That's a real thing, man. You know, when you grade a lot, there are going to be times where things don't go as planned. Maybe you missed something. Maybe you didn't press something. We'll talk about that here soon. We're going to talk about what goes into our thinking, you know, our thought process when we decide to grade something. Right now, we're talking about just chancing it sometimes, you know. Maybe it shouldn't go to CGC or CBCS, but you know what? It could be a 9.8. Let's try it again. You know, we're kind of talking about those moments right now. But, you know, disappointments, it's a real thing. And we have a giveaway courtesy of, what is this? CGC. That's right. Your boy's got some tickets that are going out to certain members on our show going forward. We have a free shipping kit, JS Wretch 20. Email us. We have the email in the description of the video. Mention that you won during podcast 44. We're going to be providing you with a code to get you a free shipping kit from CGC. This is going to have everything you need to pack and ship your books to get graded with ease. Take care of your books, put them in there carefully, but you know what? You can have some confidence that you're going to have the right shipping materials to do it. We appreciate CGC hooking us up because they are looking for ways to give back to the community that they love, that they serve. They're really busy over there doing what they can. They're getting bought out, but you know what? They are giving back to the community here today with a free shipping kit, so we appreciate them.
Yeah, man, I like JS Wretches, man. I like his outlook. You know, he's a very half full kind of cup kind of guy. I can feel that already through your comment when you're just like, it's not so much. It's more of a disappointment. You know, I like that, man.
I know. I would love to see the real response. Like, he's like, mother. He's like freaking out. But he's like, it was a disappointment.
He just needed a minute. He had to get back to center. That's all I
right.
needed.
Sometimes you just gotta bring it back. All right, here we got Joe Loves Comics. This is what he says. He doesn't grade. It's much cheaper and easier to just frame my favorite covers on my wall. Hey, this is a real thing. Not every collector is looking to create a investment long-term. Not every collector is looking to sell their books. Not every collectors are flippers. I think members of the community get it twisted sometimes. Like sometimes they'll think that every sale amounts to somebody putting money down to try to make money long-term. And then they get into a judgment, starts playing out. No, don't get it twisted, comic fam. That's not what's happening. There's a reason why Avengers Terminix 1 is spiking. It's not because people are thinking that the Alioth is going to be a grand foe one day. No, these are people who saw Loki and they're hyped and they were with their friends. They were chilling with their homies and they got excited and wanted to own a piece of history because when they experienced it, it made them want to buy a comic book and they saw that it was going for $30, $40, and they said, yeah, I want to own it. I want to show my friends. I want to put it in a box. I want to put it on my wall. And that's what Joe Loves Comics does. He frames his comics. It's not just about investment.
Yeah, Joe loves framing. So Joe, it's, look, I don't think anybody should be judged by the way they collect. So I'm a very big proponent. And I just think you just enjoy the hobby and the way you want to enjoy it. And the more people that enjoy it, the better. So like, I'm really against any of that, shaming of how you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't collect that or you shouldn't read this. Just everybody do your own thing, man. Have fun, do it.
It's like someone judges you for buying $30 and we are over here going, yes, someone paid $204,000 for a Captain America 36. Like, at what point does the judgment falter there? You got to get rid of it.
I promise you that person there is probably judging you for not being able to,
Bingo.
Even get near that.
Absolutely, Jeff. All right, next one here. We have Fab Casso. He says, I don't grade. I'm scared to ship off my books and they'll get lost. I have bad luck. Okay, well, what we're going to do here for you, Fab Casso, as long as you are comfortable with USPS handling your book, what we're going to do is make sure that they actually have the best chance of getting there in one piece. Email us. We're going to get you a free shipping kit courtesy of CGC. But yeah, some members are a little burdened by the process of getting your books prepared and then going to the websites, whether it's CGC or CBCS, prepping the books, mailing them off. Shipping kits help, having the right supplies help, but you got to fill stuff out. You got to do it right. What I will say is that at first, when I started doing this myself, it was a little intimidating, but when you do it over and over again, it's like second nature. You know where to go. You know what to check. You know what to input. It doesn't take as long.
You're right. I mean, the first time you do it, it's confusing because they have these drop downs and these selections and the options, and they give you more than you generally need for just a standard submission. But those are all services they provide, so it does take a second. But like you said, you do it once, maybe twice, you'll get it figured out real quick. It's like when you get a new cell phone, right?
Right, exactly.
Like if you go from an iPhone to an Android, you're just like, whoa, what did I just do? And let me just get through it. And then it'll be like second nature. So same thing with this, but number one thing is make sure you know what you want to get graded. And once you got that all figured out, you got to also, I think another way to capitalize, but that's very important, is to put together, I believe, 25 books at a time if you want to maximize your submission into the same tier. And that's the thing, I think it's trying to figure out the tier systems and value of submitting your books and what's going to come back all together once you save on shipping and you save on time. Because that's ultimately what you're doing. You're sending your books away basically to a sleepaway camp for 9 months. Okay, so you're not going to see them for a while.
Sleepaway camp, it's like...
Yeah, so...
Members know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Okay, so anyways, just the process gets easy pretty quick once you've done it a few times, but then you start thinking about what's the best way to maximize my efforts.
This next one is from 12 Cent Comics, all right? This is 12 Cent Comics. He's literally nicknamed on Instagram Silver Age Comics, okay? He is looking for the highest potential resale value with it being easier to sell. So as it pertains for trying to get the highest investment opportunity for a particular collectible, because maybe you'll keep it and sell it one day, or you intend to sell it one day. Walk me through your process when you're considering a Silver Age key, a Golden Age book. I want to hear your process.
For getting it graded, or why would you get it graded?
If you were going to get it graded, what deters you from it? What makes you go, you know what, I'm going to do it? Maybe even why are you going to do it and you're not even 100% sure? What tips the scale?
So the scale will tip for me in the fashion that first I'll determine that I want to sell it. So if I'm determined I want to sell it and I don't feel that it's an easy sale raw and the grade isn't obvious to people, like it's a tweener. You know, you're like, is it 4.5, 4.0? I'm not sure. And that half a point makes a difference. Sometimes half a point doesn't make a damn difference, and it's not worth the value to submit it. So you judge that. You know, 4.0 is $400. 4.5 is $375. You're like, okay, it's about a $400 book. You're like, okay, well, that just threw it off. You know, so you're just like, okay, it doesn't matter. All right, the grade's a 4.0. Okay, and you don't need to go to the 4.5. You'd rather have your customer be kind of maybe satisfied because you're not really leaving anything on the table.
Right.
It's about a $400 book. So then no point submitting it, right? It's going to disappear. It's going to cost me money. I already have it raw. Doesn't matter. But if I have a book where a 4.0 is $3K and a 4.5 is like $3,800, you know, I'm like, yeah. First off, it's going to be easier to sell once it comes back slab as a 4.0.
Yeah, there's no like disagreement. You don't have to like convince somebody the grade is the grade. It's right here. I appeal. All right. Another layer, as we mentioned, but the grade right there should signify a level of buyer's confidence.
Yeah. So again, buyer's confidence and seller's confidence because you have confidence.
Absolutely.
You know what? I didn't leave anything on the table. That's what it is. Great. I'm going to sell it now. Okay. So for me, that all comes into play and it all happens really quickly because you do it enough times. It's quick in your head. Like, okay, these are the numbers. Yes, no, maybe so.
Right.
And that's it. And then if you don't have an avenue to sell raw books is another thing. Like sometimes you don't have a very good avenue. You can't really maximize your dollar amounts. So you just don't. You might want to have it slabbed too.
Yeah, that's a real thing, man. We're over here. We have a lead on a small Golden Age collection find, all raw books. And yeah, it requires upwards of 100 pictures to be DM'd. That's right. We're getting front page, back page, side of the book, upside down book with person in it. You know, like there's all these different pictures. Then inside, page 1, page 2, here's the centerfold. I don't know what you want to see. You want to see the staples? You want to see staples from another angle? You're just like scrolling. I mean, look at eBay. You know, you're looking at a raw book. You're hoping that the person did all 12 pictures. I think that's what the limit is still. It may be less now. Who knows? Or you got a graded book. And granted, you should have more than one picture on eBay for a graded book. As you know from my frustrating experience getting a Newsstand Wolverine first patch, which by the way, I got me one right here that is pristine. Thank you to the member who sold me that. However, you can get away with like 2-3 pictures for a graded book because, hey, how does it present? How's the case look? We good. You're not having to open it up and fumble it around. And if the book is super low grade, it does make it a bit more convenient. You know, if you're having to like, put the cover over here and the back page over here and do it granted that would be a, potentially like an incomplete book, but like, separated, spine split, pages torn, pages missing, whatever the hell, if it's all just in that slab, it's packaged up regardless of the label, at least you got something to go off of. And this next comment, I relate to so damn much. I hate oversized books, dude. I do not like magazine-sized books. I bought a new short box. It's like a magazine. Like this. It's like a, what do they call them? It's plastic. It's like a hard case. You use them at conventions.
Yeah, I mean, BCW, plastic, I don't know what the name is.
Yeah, it's a plastic box. It has a lock on it. They're like $25. I recommend it. You can get your magazine/CGC sized ones, and it'll protect your graded books. Here's the thing. This is what Rat King Comics had to say. I graded my first 4 Turtle books, which, by the way, the OG books are oversized, just like The Last Ronin. I wonder if they did that on purpose. I graded my first 4 Turtle books because they don't fit in my box. I can't tell you how many times that I've messed up a magazine-sized comic book because they don't fit in a box. I don't have a magazine box nearby, or because I don't have as many magazines at the moment. So now they're doing this in the box. They're moving around. And then I do the little trick where you flip maybe half of them on their side, but then they're kind of bending over. Dude, I've messed up some pristine, beautiful Conan and Steranko books that are oversized. And to this day, man, I think of what you told me. You should mention it again to any of the new members about the feeling it is to damage your own damn books.
Oh, God. It's terrible, man. When you get an old book, like a Silver Age book, okay, and it has survived, you're like, oh, you're so excited. You're like, dude, I got this book, and it's gorgeous. And it survived all these years until it met you, and you messed it up by rebagging it and, like, cutting an edge.
Getting a tape
pull on it. Putting some dog ear on it that's just, I mean, just doing anything to ruin this book that's almost irreversible, that you can't reverse. It's a terrible feeling because you're the dumbass that did it, you know? And you feel that way. I feel that way when I've done it.
It's so real, dude. It makes me not want the books as much. I'm like, I look at the book and I love this book and it was my book and it was a near man copy. All I feel when I look at that tick that I caused because it was a magazine and I was getting lazy and I put it aside and then I put something near it and it just on the corner, that color break, that's all I see. And it's painful. So I understand you got some early Turtles books, oversized. Get them graded. You're not going to have to worry about anything besides protecting the case and keeping it out of damn sunlight. Okay, here we go. We got Fat Daddy-O. All right, we have a comment here that says, some comic books need to be preserved even in bad shape.
Okay, sure.
Very simple.
Yeah.
You know what? Some books are super low grade. And as mentioned, it's better to not have you ever get this problem where you have a book, especially if it's like gold, and you have it and it's like, it's tattered, it's falling apart. There's pieces that are like, you get to the point where you're like, this little speck, I'm just going to like pull it off there. And it's like, it's a speck. It's a speck. It's loose paper, but it's like it's dangling and it's going to end up falling on its way to CGC anyways or something. Like, you know, you see a tiny little speck. You pull it out of that bag and you see like crumbles on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about? You see like its former self that's just somehow gathered on the bottom of that book because it's old and it's been in a bag for way too long.
Mm-hmm. You got the flakes, the chipping,
the shards.
The shards. Yes. I mean, it's like remnants, pieces of your book you're just going to throw in the trash. You're just literally going to dump them out, shake out your book as more stuff falls. I
actually saw there was someone who was repairing an Action 1. I think it was Hero Restoration, actually. And they repaired an Action 1, but there were some pieces of the Action 1 that were left. And they put it on eBay, or like the owner of the pieces put it on eBay. It was literally a baggie that said Action 1 shards on it.
I think Metropolis had that.
Was it Metropolis?
Metropolis had that for auction, and I think the person paid for the staple because there was a staple in there.
Oh, there was a staple?
Yeah, there was a staple in there. So there was one staple
reason.
And then like a bunch of just remnants, pieces of it. But they did sell it. I think they sold it twice now. I think I went back up again. But yes, I know what you're talking about. I remember seeing that. It was literally like a little drug baggie of like flakes.
What is this? This is the closest I'm ever going to get to an Action 1.
Yeah. Well, you know, low grade's better than no grade.
Well, actually, speaking of staples, here's a segue. X Nerdy Things X said this. Well, as it pertains to grading, in the early days, I found out lots of rusty staples the hard way. Yes, rusty staples will get you. And when you grade, you need to be checking those staples. Dude, I have had some books that I'm like, this book is near mint. This book is flawless. Wait, why is the bottom staple rusty? Like, paper is weird, man. Sometimes that paper, when it gets moist, it ripples and stains and it looks like you poured damn coffee on it. Other times, there's no stain and there's just ripples and you can press it and everything's great. Everything's grand, right? Sometimes the book looks high grade, but then like half the staple looks rusty. And it's like, how does the book look so damn good? How did that one staple get exposed to the elements enough? And you got to assume, oh, it got a little moisture. Like someone put a little moisture on that staple and then just sat there or something. But it happens. You got to check for rusty staples.
You know, I'm surprised. I submitted some books with rusty staples, and my grades were much higher than I expected. So, I mean, obviously it depends on the severity of how far it goes into the book. Does it eat away to the staple? Does it eat on the interior page? But I had some fairly good amount of rust on some staples, and I still got 8.0s out of these books, man. 8.0, even 8.5. I mean, I was shocked that I expected, and I've always been under the impression staple rust is going to kill you. It's going to kill you. And then I started submitting some books, and it wasn't as bad. So I'm wondering, is that like a wives' tale, or is that true? Like, have you submitted any books with Rusty Staples? Because I've had some success lately.
I feel like I've gotten knocked on Staples before, but not as, I guess you're right, like not as severe as you would think it would be. But I've been deterred. It's only happened a couple times. So when now I'm presented with the book with Rusty Staples, unless I'm dealing with like Golden Age, like even like that Margie over there, I had a little bit of rust on the Staples. Like still, it's a mid-grade book, near mid-grade, and it presents really well. But very, very light rust on the Staples, and it doesn't look like it affected it much. All right, so here's one from Heron Heavens, a member of our team over here, who said that she likes to grade because she does it for the signature cert, and that's a great reason to get a book graded. I gotta say, I enjoy getting comics graded. I enjoy getting comics signed, all right? I don't always need the books signed and graded. Because you know what? If it's going to stay in the personal, I'm fine with that. I don't need that Steranko portrait there. Notice the one behind you, Sterank, looking handsome, watching over us as we speak in this room, you know? We have over here Andy Seriano's sketch cover. Both of those are signed to me. They're personal. I don't care. I'm keeping them. They're for the PC. I don't need them graded. But other times, yeah, if you want to retain the value long term, maybe it's an investment, you want to gift it to someone one day, maybe your kids, it would be better to not have your name on there. And it would be better to get that signature certified. CGC will do it with a witness at a convention. CBCS will do an authentication. Both are great options.
Yeah, I mean, I think that makes 100% sense. I mean, certified to validate the signature, you know, I mean, the whole thing with CGC and a witness thing does seem a little like, pressure-wise, like, hey, we're witnessing this for you, so you time to submit it now. It's like almost like, I don't know, man. I just wonder about that, how much pressure you have because you spend all this time to get it like graded, and then there's the pressure of like, oh wait, no one's gonna know this is real unless I put this inside a capsulated device that CGC is here witnessing. So man, I don't know why I'm even talking about that or ranting about that, but it just hit me that it just seems like another way to kind of just pull money out of your pocket into some type of holder here for your book. But
well, it's one of the two. Either they have a staff of authenticators, which is a business, and I believe, unless things have changed in recent years, I don't think it has, CBCS has a third-party company that they like that they pay for. It's an added cost. You have to have someone who knows signatures and who are confident to write their name down to make sure that that cert is real. Or CGC can skip that process. They're already at a con. They staff a bunch of people at the convention and say, yo, go with this person, go over to Mignola's line, and they'll like chill with you for a little bit and make sure it gets done. Also, you can get, you know, as a store, you can become a witness. So there are ways to make it a bit more flexible and not as much of a pain in the ass beyond what is already a difficult process, which is waiting in line for Rob Liefeld to then charge a ridiculous amount for signatures and then to charge you more to get it graded. Because that is something that's happening as well. We're seeing that more and more.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if you thought about it, that you could have graded it, because if the witness wasn't there, they wouldn't think it any different, right? It's because of the witness is there, you're probably getting charged more. Right, because a witness has to be there.
If the witness is there, that's an indicator that you're going to get it graded.
Right, right. So if they never had to deal with that, you would just be submitting it
on your own,
and they would have their own validator there somewhere, you know, recognizing a live.
Well, through CBCS, yes,
through CBCS. But I'm just saying CGC doesn't do that or offer that. But yeah. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I'm just kind of going down a rabbit hole.
Well, dude, when you're chilling with your homies, talking about comic books for 2.5 hours, that's what happens. Comic fam, last comment, JS Wretch 20 says, here's a tip. Very simple, 2 words, always press. And you know what? Unless you are certain that there's nothing wrong and you flip through the book and you made sure there's no fingerprints on the book and maybe you're using gloves. I don't like to use gloves, but I also have I have it here. I've had it in my hand a little bit. I have a ton of these eyeglass cleaner cloths. This is what you can use to get stuff off your comics, especially if you put a thumbprint on it. I have a bunch of them because of my glasses, my specs, but this helps you maintain your comic books when you're touching them. Pressing is always a plus. Now, is it worth paying the CGC service or CBCS service to press, well, you had to apply the other stuff we chatted about in this conversation. You're adding a cost, possibly more time added to the process of getting your book back. How long do you want to have your money tied up for? However, I've had a lot of good success with CCS, right? That's CGCs?
CGC, CCS, yeah.
Yeah. I also have seen people who are not as happy with it, just the same way that probably it is for a lot of other people who are professional pressers. There's wins, there's losses, there's risks.
Absolutely. When you're pressing or applying pressure of any kind on a book, there's always a risk. There's always a chance. Obviously, you should do an inspection of your book, before you go and press it. But again, always press, which could mean for you, if you don't know any pressers, then you have to use CCS. If you know other pressers, there's a lot of great options out there. I can't imagine a press isn't going to help like 95% of comics. I mean, modern books are generally pretty tight, but even those books come by the time they get to you after being on a rack in a store or
shipped in a box that's like got zero protection. Shout out Diamond, then they go on the rack, and then you get them in hand and you're fumbling them around. Maybe you read it, you didn't realize, oh wow, Stray Dogs is an amazing book. I'm gonna give it to my friends to read, and then all of a sudden you look at the numbers, seeing Stray Dogs 1 is hitting near $100. Well, damn it, I hope they kept that book safe. You get it back. Yeah, I mean, this is a true story, comic fan. Like, this is actually what happened to me. I'm like, damn, Stray Dogs spiked up. I should have just not lent that out and waited for the trade paperback. Comic fam, I appreciate you guys.